Shalom, Apostle Tahar coming back at you with this truth, giving all praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, the true name of the Most High and His Son, not no damn Christ like certain demons put out there, or Ahaya by Hashem Yeshaya. I'm coming in the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Anyway, I'm going to entitle this, was the new moon, or is the new moon a full moon? And this is a comment that was sent to me about, I don't know, about 10 hours ago. I can show you the comment. I don't have to, it's no big deal. By a Sakari, that he had mentioned that Nate is at it again. That he's teaching that the new moon is a full moon. Now there's a big controversy among people that teach, and I heard this before, that the new moon is actually a full moon. And one scripture they may be using is Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 43, verse 7. It says, from the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. So you can, argue the fact that that right there proves that the full moon is a new moon, because the word perfection should mean the full moon. You actually see the moon, that circle, that circle full of light. You say that's the perfection. Well, if you, want to be a bodybuilder, you might have a skinny body, a fat body, and what you do is you lift weights and you exercise, you eat the proper foods, the supplements, and you work out, and it could take you a year, could take you 3-4 years, and then eventually, you have what you see as a perfect body. To build a body, close to zero fat. You got the six-pack, and everything's cut up, so that's called a perfect body. Now, maybe a year before that, you might have lost, a great deal of weight, but you're still not perfect. So, and that's with anything. You buy a banana that's like green, yellowish green, and you wait until the banana, becomes ripen. When it's like yellow with maybe a little black here and there, that's when the banana is ready to eat in its perfection. So the same thing with the moon. It said from the moon, Ecclesiasticus 43 verse 7, from the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. Meaning you start with a new moon, and in 2 weeks the moon is full. So you would say that the moon is in its perfection, because you can actually see the moon. And as the weeks go by, you have the phases of the moon. You have the crescent moon. That's the beginning of the new moon, and then you have in 1 week you have a certain phase, so the crescent is bigger, then it becomes a half moon, then it becomes a full moon, and then the moon, it looks like it disappears, and that's the new moon. So let me read that again. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreases in her perfection. Okay, so now let me go to Mark 15 verse 33, and it says, and I'm reading from the King James 16:11. It says, and when the 6th hour was come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. So the 9th hour would be 3 p.m. Because the first hour would be of the day would be about 6 a.m. So when the land was darkened for 3 hours, from the 6th hour to the 9th hour, that's 3 hours, right? So now this is what it says concerning a new moons. It says new moons are the only time solar eclipses occur. And my argument is that when Yahweh Shai was on the cross, that was during the full moon. And you can look up the term full moon. Oh, and by the way, that was 2 weeks from the first month of the year, because they had the Passover, and later that night, because the Passover comes in the 14th day at evening, which is the beginning of the 15th day, because days start from evening to evening. And later that night, he was betrayed by Judas Iscariot, and he was brought before the heads of Israel at that time, the wicked scribes and Pharisees, and the high priest was behind it. So when they crucified him going towards the end of the 15th day. A couple hours, it would have been the 16th day when the sun fully went down. It says new moons are the only time solar eclipses occur. A solar eclipse always occurs 2 weeks after or 2 weeks before a total lunar eclipse. So this had to be a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses can last for a maximum of 3 hours and 40 minutes, with the period of totally lasting for as long as 1 hour and 40 minutes. Now, when you look up a solar eclipse, I believe, you can look it up for yourself, that it lasts for maybe 6 to 7 minutes. On the other hand, the lunar eclipse lasts for approximately 3 hours. 3 hours and change, a little bit before 3 hours. So, this had to be a lunar eclipse. Now, the Most High could have, you know, just made the land dark, or it could have actually been a lunar eclipse. You know, it makes sense logically that it had to be a lunar eclipse. Now, you might argue that, oh, well, the only time you can see a lunar eclipse is, you know, at nighttime. You know, I believe there's accounts where you had lunar eclipse also in the daytime. And by the way, the lunar eclipse, the sun, you have the sun on one side of the earth, and the moon would be directly behind the earth. You know, if you look up the word lunar eclipse, so there would be an alignment, a perfect alignment, where you have the planet Earth in between the sun and the moon, and that's called a lunar eclipse. So, you know, you got, like I said, the brother from the Sakari, I believe it was Al-Azhar. You know, he said that you know, Nate is at it again, teaching that the new moon is actually a full moon. And like I said, you have, you know, people out there that claim that the new moon is actually the full moon. But that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, with that, I mean, I can say more. I can go into more information, but I'll leave it up to you out there to comment and to do a response video on this subject. Now, if he believes that, he should also believe that the Sabbath days come in on not a Friday sundown and Saturday sundown, but based upon the new moon. Because when you go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, it mentions the Sabbath, and then it mentions the other high holy days. And when you read about these high holy days, it says, you know, on the 7th month, on the first day, is the memorial of blowing of trumpets, for example. The 14th day at evening, the first month, the 14th day at evening is the Passover, or the beginning of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So, you know, you would go by those high holy days based upon the new moon. So why would you say, oh, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown is the Sabbath coming in? By the way, this Sabbath coming in tomorrow. Today's date is 9/29. So the new moon will come in on 9/30/2016 at evening. So for the rest of that moon cycle, the new moon will fall on a Friday sundown, Saturday sundown, and then next month it will change. So if this guy, you know, Nate calls himself saying that the new moon is the full moon, well, why does he teach that Friday sundown to Saturday sundown is the Sabbath? Doesn't make any sense if he thinks he's that deep. Because, you know, if you go by the so-called Friday sundown to Saturday sundown school of thought, what calendar did Moses use to see that it was a Friday? Did Moses have a wall calendar and he said, oh, yep, it's Friday, It's Friday. Tonight is the Sabbath. They didn't have wall calendars like you have today. They had to go by the moon. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say Shalom.